Hello, welcome to today's lesson. Good to have you again. In today's lesson, we'll be looking at a topic that is divided into two. And today's topic is factors of production and occupation. So, section A will be factors of production, and section B will be occupation. And I'm glad to tell you that we have a guest in the house who will be teaching us on the four factors of production. Let's may welcome Professor Dave as he teaches us on the factors of production. Thank you.
He knows a lot about all kinds of stuff. Professor Dave explains.
At this point in the series, we understand the concept of scarcity, and we also know how to define resources, goods, and services. But how are scarce resources turned into goods and services? To answer that question, let's take a look at the four factors of production. First, you need land. Now, sometimes this is literally the land, but when economists talk about land, they are talking about all of the natural resources found on the planet to help make goods or provide services. This could be fertile land for farming, but it could also be oil that comes from deep underground, or water from a river, or timber from forests. Second, you need labor. Labor is the actual physical effort we put into making goods or providing services. Whether this is a nurse taking care of a patient, an artist creating a painting, a mechanic changing the brakes on a car, or a YouTuber making educational tutorials, work has to go into producing a good or service. Third, you need capital. In this context, capital refers to any human-created resource that is used to produce other goods and services. There are two types of capital: physical capital and human capital. Physical capital is the physical, human-made stuff that produces other stuff, or aids in the production of other stuff. For example, a tractor is physical capital because it helps the farmer plow fields to produce crops. Human capital is the knowledge and skills a person gains through both education and experience. The farmer knows how to plow those fields because they have spent years doing it. An economy needs both physical and human capital in order to function properly. For example, it's nice if the farmer has a tractor, but if they don't know how to use it, it's not going to work. The fourth factor of production is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is the process of launching and running a business in order to make money. An entrepreneur takes on financial risks in the hopes of making a profit. They create new ideas and sometimes even create new markets and industries. They also manage the other three factors of production. A successful business knows how to efficiently manage land, labor, and capital in order to make a profit. To demonstrate the four factors of production, let's consider an example of a company, like, say, an artisanal coffee shop. The first factor that comes into play is entrepreneurship. One or more entrepreneurs must be inspired to sell high-quality coffee in planning to open up this coffee shop. Second, the entrepreneurs need land. This land includes where the coffee shop would be located, like perhaps this neighborhood in San Francisco. However, remember, land includes all natural resources, so fresh water and coffee beans would be included here, and the beans could actually be considered the most important natural resource. Third, the entrepreneurs need to implement labor to construct, open, and operate the coffee shop. This takes work, and they likely have to hire additional workers to help them. But who should they hire? This is where human capital comes in. They will need people with customer service skills and coffee making skills. And don't forget physical capital. The workers will need coffee bean grinders, coffee makers, espresso makers, ovens, cups, plates, silverware, and more. With all four factors of production met, a delightful artisanal coffee shop has been produced. So to summarize, factors of production are the resources we need to make all goods and services.
Welcome back. Thank you, Professor Dave, for the teaching. Factors of production are the essential resources required for production. Now, the four factors of production are land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. Let's take a look at labor. Under labor, we have three categories of labor. Three categories of labor. They are number one, the skilled labor. Example of skilled labor is engineer, doctors, because these people are specially trained. They are specialists. They are expertise in their job. Then number two, we have the semi-skilled labor. This set of people are not specially trained. But they have some level of training. The example is the electrician, and then the next one is the unskilled labor. People involved here don't really need any special training. Yes, for example, the gardener and the cleaner or a cook. These people don't need special training. So these are the categories of labor. Now, for these factors of production have their rewards. And what are the rewards? Number one, land. As a factor of production, the rewards for land is rent. Yes, you pay for land. Then labor, the reward for labor is wages or salary. After work, individuals have to be paid. Then number three factor, which is capital, is interest. For everything you bring in to start a business, you're definitely going to get an interest. Then the last one, which is entrepreneur, who oversees every other factors of production. The reward for an entrepreneur is profits. Okay, so let's go to section B of our topic today, which is occupation. What is occupation? Occupations are activities or work engaged in by an individual in order to earn a living. Anything we do to get money, that is occupation. Then occupation is divided into three. We have the industrial occupation, the commercial occupation, and the service occupation. Let's start with the industrial occupation. Industrial occupation have three types. We have the extractive industry. Extractive, example of an extractive industry is fishing. It means getting materials from their original source. Fiction, we get fish from river. Then mining, when we get crude oil from the ground, that is extractive. We extract those things from their original source. Then manufacturing industry, number two, which is manufacturing industry. Manufacturing industry are involved in processing raw materials into finished product. Example can be a car production company where they make cars, they manufacture cars. Then number three is the construction industry. This industry is involved in making of things, constructing things, like for example, constructing a building or constructing a bridge across a river. So this is the three types of industries we have. Then we move next to the second occupation, type of occupation, which is the commercial occupation. Commercial occupation examples are transportation. We have commercial buses everywhere where you can board a bus and you pay. Then banking, that's also a commercial occupation because the bank help people to save their money and valuables. Then we have brokers where you go, people who sells and buy shares. Then the next is traders. Yeah, we have traders, businessmen and women all over the place selling things for people. These are commercial occupation. Then the third type of occupation is the service occupation. Now, service occupation is divided into two. We have the direct service and the indirect service. Now, direct service are this kind of occupation work that you employ somebody and they render their service directly to the employer. For example, a cook or a driver or a steward or a security guard in a house. These people render direct services to their employer. Then number two, which is the indirect service. Now, they are not, they don't render direct service to their employers. For example, a policeman, we don't pay policemen their salaries, but the government do. So you see, it's an indirect service, or the soldiers or the judges. So service occupation is divided into what? The direct service and indirect service. Now, there are factors which affect the choice of an occupation. When, for example, you're done schooling and you want to get a job, there are some factors that can affect the type or kind of job you get. Number one, your interests. Yeah, you can see vacancies around, but if you're not interested in it, you won't apply for such job. Or you want to start a business and there are different ideas, but if you're not interested in them, you may not want to start such. Then number two is sex, either a male or a female. Probably you should have seen around places whereby they put a post, a signpost, say says girl needed. In such scenario, a guy, a boy cannot apply for such job, because why? They need a girl. They say sales girl, not a sales boy. Then number three is the level of education. The level of education. Imagine a complaint um, post a vacancy, and one of the requirements is that you should be a university graduate. Now, someone who hasn't gone been to the university, who just finished only secondary school and has his O-level certificate, cannot apply for such job. You see, it affects the choice of job. Then the next number four is remuneration. In other words, we say salary, payment. So if a person who is applying for a job wants to be paid a higher amount than the company is willing to give, the person may not want to accept such job. So that's another factor that can affect choice of job. And the last today is available vacancy. So the availability of vacancy in a place determine if an individual will take up such occupation or job. There are many other factors that can affect the choice of occupation. So that's the end of our class for today. And don't forget to attempt the quizzes and your module assignments. Thank you very much and have a nice time.